How's it going, everybody? It's Prod here, and today I'm bringing you guys a new video, a new Dark Souls 3 video, because a couple of days ago, I actually haven't gotten a chance to make this video because a couple of days ago there was some new info released from Dark Souls 3 from the event that's happening. I'm guessing it's the same event from the same gameplay from my previous Dark Souls 3 video. I think it was like before the bonfire video, which I really want to thank you guys for checking that one out. If you did, it has almost 10,000 views at this point, which is crazy, man. I never expected it to do that well. But there was a bunch of new info, such as returning weapons, and a lot of things that people have been speculating and wondering about, which is the rolling, because there hasn't really been a confirmed rolling mechanic, how it's going to work in this game, if it's going to be the same as all the other games, but they finally did kind of confirm how it's going to be. So I do have a list of about 10 things here that I kind of want to talk over. I actually got this from a website. I'll link to the actual website in the description, the actual post, and it actually credits it to a Reddit post that somebody posted in the Dark Souls 3 Reddit. So if you want most of the new information from the Dark Souls 3, I would highly suggest going to follow that or subscribing to that Reddit post, or that Reddit thread, I'm sorry, because a lot of new things that I usually get are posted there first. So let's jump right into it with the most important thing in my opinion, which is the rolling. So I'm going to read off right what it says first and then give my opinion. So it says, rolling seems to be like Dark Souls 2. There is no mid-roll, there is just fast roll, and the greater the equip load, the shorter the rolling distance becomes. Also, at a certain point, it becomes a fat roll. So there is going to be fat rolls in the game the more you equip, because from most of the gameplay that we've seen from the network playtest and from the actual events, there hasn't really been any fat rolling, and most of it has been really fast. So that maybe gave people the idea, man, they're going to take fat rolling out of this game, they're going to take mid roll, it's all going to be fast rolls. And it's not going to be that way, but it is going to be a little bit different than it has been in previous games. So in this game, there is, like they said, there's going to be no mid roll, so it's only going to be fast roll, and I'm guessing fat rolls, just those two, because usually been I think when you're under a specific percentage, I think it might be 20, maybe 25. When you're under that, or even 15, you have fast rolls and it's incredibly fast. And then there's mid rolls where it's just kind of normal rolls, maybe a little bit slower, and then you become a really tanky fat rolling. That's like when you have full havels, you know. So what it looks like right now is we're gonna get fast rolls, and basically every single roll is going to be a fast roll until the point when it's not. And the more you equip and the more weight you actually have on when it comes to the armor and the shield and the weapons, instead of having that mid roll, what's going to happen is you're actually going to go less further. There's going to be less of a distance that you go when you're actually fast rolling. And then obviously once you get up to really high, which if I believe is around 60% of your weight, that's when you start fat rolling. Maybe it's going to be different in this game, but I do think that the fast rolling, the way it normally is, the way we have seen it so far, has been really fast. So I'm guessing they've been playing with that. They're going to play with that before the game comes out and probably make it slower, a little bit closer to the mid-roll. I'm guessing it's not going to be, you know, crazy fast as we have seen it, but I'm pretty okay with the changes, man. It's basically the same that we've always gotten, with a little bit of a change, you know. So I'm okay with it. I'm excited to see how it's actually going to be in the full game. You know, if it's going to be, if there's one point where you have such high weight where you're not exactly fat rolling, but you're literally just going less than an inch and you're just going one little just roll right in front of it and just doesn't do anything. You know, I'm excited to see if that's going to be a thing. But let's go ahead and move on here to some of the other things I do have on this list. So from top to bottom, I'm just going to go ahead and read off and give you guys my opinions on some of the other things that they mentioned. So the one at the very top apparently says loading seems to be faster than in Bloodborne, and they speculated that might have been because people were actually trying to read and focus on what the descriptions of the specific items between the screens actually said, so time just went by faster. But that is pretty understandable, man. Bloodborne's loading time, especially in the beginning, from like all the videos I saw, you know, gameplays and stuff. Sadly, I did not have a PS4 when Bloodborne came out, so I didn't get to play it back then, but they did improve that. That was like a big improvement, you know. But it was like almost a minute between just being in one thing and then going to the Hunter's Dream. That was like easily 40 seconds of just a black screen with Bloodborne on it, just Bloodborne, you know. And that got really boring. People hated that, so it's easy to understand that they made that a little bit faster. Now obviously this is not the full game that we're talking about. This is just a demo that they had with these specific areas. Maybe once we get the game and it's more areas and bigger areas, the loading times might actually be slower, maybe even slower than Bloodborne, who knows, but I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. I really hope it's not slow, man. That fucking loading screen, especially if you have a specific hub and you're warping from bonfire to bonfire, that's going to be really goddamn slow, man. But next up, they actually saw a pyromancy spell called Sacred Flame or Purification. And they give a little brief description of what it actually did. Apparently, it was like the fire built up inside of an enemy and then just blew them up, which... that sounds really goddamn awesome, man. I cannot wait to use that. Like, doesn't that sound like if it has tracking and you could actually track the enemies, that might be a little bit too OP, you know? But moving on ahead here, they actually showed a little bit of info about returning weapons, which is awesome. So to start things off, the Dragon Slayer Great Bow, which I always liked, man. This thing is a huge bow and arrow, and the arrows are huge, and that thing has, like, it hits hard, especially on Dark Souls 2. You can knock someone on their ass with that thing, which is always really funny, especially in PvP if you could get a chance to hit somebody, because it takes forever to charge it up, and it takes so much stamina as well. But they actually announced the name of the weapon arts for this. It's going to be called Piercing Shot, which to me, it sounds like it's just going to be just one big shot that does a lot of damage, since we have seen the weapon arts for this the faster bows and arrows, and it's just a bunch of shots fired quickly. And I'm guessing since this is one of the slower variety bow and arrows, it's going to be, you know, just that big shot that does a lot of damage. But next up, for the whip and the notched whip, we have the weapon arts as well called Severe Blow. Now, what it says is a little bit confusing. So it says it's an attack getting around the shield. So just from that, I'm guessing it's going to be something that if somebody's hiding behind the shield, has his shield up a lot, this is going to be useful to get around that. It's going to whip around the shield, maybe hit them on the side or in the back where you could do some damage when they actually have the shield up, which does indeed sound useful, especially against some of those red knights, which we've seen they do hold the shield up quite a bit, maybe even in PvP as well. But it also says that it's going to reduce the time it takes to regenerate stamina, so you're going to be able to use it for longer without running out of stamina for as long as you have some of your focus meter. But next up, now, I don't know if we've seen this weapon, but we have the weapon arts for possibly a new weapon. I'm not entirely sure. You guys could correct me on that in the comments if you want. Called the Crow Demon's Curved Greatsword. And the weapon arts for this weapon is called the Blow from the Dead Angel, or just Blow from the Dead Angle. I'm sorry. But now it says angle, like... but could they have possibly meant angel? Now, this was translated from Japanese, by the way, so they could have possibly made a mistake. But, you know, for now, I'm guessing it's called Blow from the Dead Angle, which at this point, I can't even speculate what that's going to be like or how it's going to look. But it sounds pretty cool. But next up, we have the confirmation of Flynn's Ring from Dark Souls 2, maybe other Dark Souls. I'm not entirely sure if it has been. You guys can go ahead and tell me. I don't mind, but it's a pretty decent ring. What it actually does, I'll put the picture of what it actually does right there on the screen, but basically the lower your equip load, it actually gives you a little bonus damage. So the less weight you have on, that's actually by the pounds, not by the percentage. The lower that is, the more your weapons do damage. So that's pretty cool. And next up, we have another confirmed returning weapon, the Dark Drift from Dark Souls 2, which is actually a katana, which katanas are so goddamn awesome, man. They were always some of my favorite weapons, if not my favorite, like, overall type of weapons from the Souls series. But this is a returning weapon, and the weapon arts for this is also called the Dark Drift. No information on what it actually does or how it's going to look, but that's what it's called. But moving on here to the next item, we only have a couple of them left on this list, so let's power right through them. So next up, Estus Shards making a return from Dark Souls 2. I'm guessing it's going to have the same effect that it did in Dark Souls 2, which is going to allow you to have more uses on your Estus Flask. Now, I'm pretty sure the max that we've seen so far from these demos has been about 3, maybe 4 or 5. I'm guessing it's going to go all the way up to 10 like it usually does in the previous games. So that's pretty cool. Next up, a couple of items, returning items, new items. Starting off from the beginning, the Covetous Silver Serpent's Ring. Now, if I remember correctly, what this actually does is give you more souls for the enemies that you kill. I'm pretty sure that's what it does. Next up, Lloyd Shield and the Fake Ring. No idea what this fake ring does. There was no description for what it does. And last up, the weapon durability apparently seems to be pretty low, similar to how it was in Dark Souls 2, because in Dark Souls 2 weapons were really low. For example, the battle axe that people were using in this beta had around 80 durability, and after about 5 hits that durability will go down 1 to 79. So apparently I'm pretty sure Miyazaki himself confirmed that the durability for the weapon was going to go down slower than it did, especially in Dark Souls 2. Man, that thing went down fast in Dark Souls 2, especially that greatsword would break in like 5 minutes. But it's pretty cool. Lots of awesome new things from this event, lots of new information. Hopefully we get to see some of these new things in action here pretty soon. But that is about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you made it this far. We would really appreciate it. But I'll talk to you guys later. Peace, everybody.